Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 143. Before I get into this week's review, I have to mention a few things. Of course, you already know the deal. Subscriber goal, Patreon linked in the description. You guys know the deal with that by now. But a few other actual special occasion announcements. First of which you're probably noticing right now is that this review is coming out on a Saturday. I'm doing a little bit of experimentation. I've noticed that views for Sunday reviews have been going down over the last month in comparison to what they used to be getting. I'm not sure what the exact cause of that is, but I'm going to see if doing an earlier upload can have an impact on that. If not, we'll probably just go back to the Sunday reviews, so we'll see what happens with this. The other thing I'm sure you've been noticing is that now we have some actual nice thumbnails. You can thank Euler on my Discord server for that. They've started making them, which is a really big help. I've tried doing thumbnails over the last few weeks. Emphasis on tried. Graphic design, not my forte, so it's a really big help to have someone who's actually good at this doing it for me. So thank you again, I really appreciate it. And the other thing, the last thing, is that my guy Griever has finally caught up to Jujutsu Kaisen. He caught up to it on last night's stream. I'll have a link to that in the description for you guys to go check out. And it seems like he may start doing chapter reviews from this point on. I don't know if he's going to start this week. It is a busy month for him. He does have actual stuff to do outside YouTube. So we'll see what happens. He may do a review this week, he may do a reaction, he may not do anything, I don't know. But you guys should definitely go subscribe to him so that when he starts coming out with Jujutsu Kaisen content, you won't miss it. And also to help him reach his March goal of 500 subscribers. He's very close, so just like a handful of you could subscribe and you would help him make it. So with that out of the way, let's get on with the review. Now, for the first time in a while, I actually had someone hyping me up in the comments of something not related to Jujutsu Kaisen. I know it's been a while. The last time it happened, people were spoiling me about Yuta coming back. But fortunately, this time, nobody told me what was going on. They just said it was a very exciting, hype chapter. And they were correct. For a number of reasons. So let's start off by getting into the biggest one, I'd say. Yujis Parents. We have been wondering since the first chapter, what the hell is the deal with Yuji's parents? We don't know anything about them. His grandfather wanted to tell him something about it, but Yuji was like, I don't want to hear it, I don't care about it. So we never found out. And it was something that I had never really thought about until Anime Onlys brought it up while they were watching the first episode of the anime. That, yeah, his parentage has got to be important to some extent, because it's a shonen main character, of course it is. And they wouldn't have had, like, this thing where his grandpa's trying to tell him about them if it didn't matter. And then, in more recent chapters, we've had Chozo insisting that Yuji is his brother. He was able to sense his death through his curse technique. Before Gege said that the memory thing had nothing to do with the curse technique, I thought that was basically just the memory manipulation working like Book of the End, and it was just fucking bending reality to make people believe whatever fantasy it created. But then Chozo asked Yuji if he remembered his dad having stitches on his forehead, if he had a scarred forehead. And when that happens, we were all like, oh. Or, I was a little like, that has a little more credence now. That's a little interesting. So, in this week's chapter, we get the reveal of Yuji's parents. His father, Jin, who, you know what, looking at him, it's been a while since I've seen... No, actually, this happens a lot. What the fuck am I talking about? This dude looks like Yuji. Like, just from his face, I can see it. He has, like, kind of the same face as him. So his name's Jin. His dad is Yuji's grandfather. And Yuji's mom is someone whose name it hasn't been revealed. But they have, stitches or scars on their forehead. So, apparently, the brain is not Yuji's father. Brain is actually Yuji's mother, which is an interesting twist. Now, We don't know if the brain was originally a man or a woman, so we don't know how bizarre this is. Or is this... No, this is kind of weird, just hopping between bodies of various different people, regardless of their man or woman. But yeah, that is something. So Yuji is Chozo's brother from another mother with the same father, but not in the way that you'd think. This family tree is a fucking nightmare. So apparently Yuji actually committed fucking fratricide? Yeah, fratricide, during Origin of Obedience. That's fun. He's technically part of the Kamo clan, maybe a little. Well, the brain seemingly wasn't part of the Kamo clan, but it took over the member of the Kamo clan. So, I don't know. Is he technically part of the clan? I don't know, really. So, yeah. Yeah, so the main villain is Yuji's mom. Geto is Yuji's mom. We finally got into the territory where we could say shit that makes zero sense without context. And even with context, it's not, well, that's not completely accurate, but you guys get what I'm saying. This shit is pretty wild. It's like how Aizen was like, Ichigo, I've known about you since before you were even born. But instead of orchestrating his parents meeting together, it would be like if he just fucked Ichigo's mom. But instead, well, no, it would actually be more like if Ichigo's mom was actually his dad and Aizen was his... we're getting into some weird territory here. Anyway, this is some pretty freaky shit. Jin had a wife named Kaori who died, and his father, Yuji's grandfather, blames it on this woman, the brain. Now, I've seen some people saying that this is a resurrected Kaori, like the brain took over her body, like Jin... Someone offered to resurrect Kaori for Jin, because they couldn't have a child, and she died, and he always wanted a kid, so then he got that out of the deal. I don't think that's what it is, unless this is a really fucked up translation, which as far as I can tell it isn't. These speed scans are usually, even if the grammar's kind of bad, are usually fairly accurate. So I feel like if this was a resurrected Kaori, we would have a way bigger reaction here from at least Yuji's grandfather, about how, hey, remember how your wife died and how she was infertile and then she fucking just came back to life and could have children now? Isn't that a little freaky? Instead, I feel like Kaori died and this is a completely separate person from Kaori. That seems much more plausible to me. But we will have to see. I think we're probably going to get more information on this at some point in the future. Well, this is probably the most shocking revelation we've had in quite some time. Well, the Naruto Shikamo reveal wasn't shocking, because we all kind of figured that's who it was, but yeah, this is probably the most shocking reveal we've had in a very long time. So, next big thing. Yuta is actually on Yuji's side. A lot of people have been saying this. When he apologized for stabbing Yuji, I was kind of like, that's a weird thing to say when you want to hate murder someone. Like, when you're getting revenge for your friend, that's a weird thing to say to a guy. A lot of people were saying how he didn't put cursed energy into his sword, and I was like, sounds kind of plausible, but I don't know. I'll need a little more information. So then we get that this chapter. So I think in the interview, Akutami confirmed that Gojo went overseas to talk to Yuta. So we actually see that conversation here, and he's basically saying, like, hey, I have a bad feeling. If something happens to me, you need to take care of the first and second years, because, you're a special grade sorcerer. But Hakari will be fine. So Hakari gets more hype. I feel like this is the first time he's been mentioned in a very long time, unless I'm forgetting. But Hakari, big Hakari hype. We know Gojo has a lot of faith in Hakari. He thinks that he and Akotsu can be as good as him one day. and we already know how good Okotsu is, so we still need to see what Hikari can do. But, you know, that just goes to show what a badass this guy supposedly is. But he wanted Okotsu to watch over the other students, and part of that was playing into this act for the higher-ups because they wanted Yuji executed. So he's like, the easiest way to get to Yuji, instead of like having to get through all of this stuff and probably having information hidden from me, is to just play along and be the executioner. Now, they did put a binding vow on him to kill Yuji, so he was like, alright, I gotta kill Yuji. So he does. Yuji did die. Again. But, as we know, thanks to being Sukuna's vessel, it's possible to revive Yuji. I know Akutami said, like, after a certain amount of time he would die, if just left there. But right after Yuji's heart had stopped. I guess that was the qualification for killing him, his heart stops. Which is weird, because you can still be alive when your heart's not beating, but whatever. Right after his heart stopped, he started healing him with his reverse curse technique. So Yuta is not here to hunt down Yuji for the rest of the arc, so there goes my Civil War arc for now. But don't you worry, we're getting something just as good, maybe, if not potentially even better. Anyway, Megami's finally back. I know we've been waiting on that. The guy has been... Well, the last time we saw him, he had been beaten unconscious, technically dead by his own summon. So now we see he's here, he's back, he's seemingly fine. And, you know, Yuji, ever since this new arc had kind of started, which I guess this is actually kind of like an intermission arc, he was thinking about how he couldn't go back to the school because of what Sukuna had done in Shibuya, all of the people that had died because of him, and what Megami's concern was, what he had said to him back during the Cursed Womb Must Die arc, which was, how do you know that someone you save won't kill someone in the future? And, you know, Yuji asked him, then why did you save me? And because, indirectly, because Megami had saved Yuji all the way back at the start of the series, Sukuna was able to go on his rampage and killed God knows how many people in Shibuya. So that is something that Yuji has had hanging over him this whole time, and we've been wondering, at least I've been wondering, how this is going to affect Megami, because Megami, of course, is the one who summoned Yuji, but I was also thinking that him summoning Maharaga was also indirectly responsible for Sukuna eventually using Malevolent Shrine. He probably would have gone on some kind of rampage, regardless of whether or not Megami had summoned Maharaga, but it had given Sukuna an excuse to use it, where it's like, oh shit, I need my domain expansion to beat this thing. So Megami could also take a lot of blame for all the people that got killed in Shibuya. So I was also wondering how that would affect him as well. And we see here that when Yuji says that, you know, I can't go back because of all the people I've killed, Megami says it's our fault. He holds the blame over both of them. So it's both of their burdens to bear. And, you know, he brings back his old line, we're not heroes, we're sorcerers. You know, there's no one who can judge us, so we just have to prove the worth of our existence. And we can't think about ourselves, we just have to try and save as many people as we can. So, you know, it's kind of like the speech Toto gave to him about being a Jujutsu sorcerer. Obviously, it's not delivered by Toto, so it's not as inspiring, but it still kind of has the same general message. Now, well, I don't know if the real reason Megami's here, but, like, his primary motivation is he wants Yuji to help him. The Brain is holding an event called the Annihilation Migration. Are you people ready for your epic Fortnite Battle Royale? That's right. We're going to have a bunch of people, a bunch of sorcerers and non-sorcerers within a barrier that are going to fight each other to the death. There is a very long list of rules that I'm going to put up on the screen for you. There are a lot of interesting factors at play here. First of all, sorcerers are worth 5 points, non-sorcerers are worth 1 point, so you kind of have on either, you go after the big fish and you get a bunch of points, or you go after the little fish and you get fewer points, but they'll be easier to kill. So maybe you'll probably have someone that's just going around killing the non-sorcerers to try and rack up as much points as easily as possible. The other thing is that whoever gets 100 points, they are able to negotiate a new rule with the Game Master. So that is interesting. Someone is definitely going to do that, and it's going to be something spicy. And the only restriction on that is that it can't interfere with the continuation of the game. So you can do whatever new rule you want, but it can't be like, my new rule is that the game is over. You can't do something like that, or something that would indirectly do that. So I'm interested in seeing how that's going to work out. And the last thing is that people can be given or have their techniques taken away. I'm wondering exactly how this is possible. I'm assuming it's through idle transfiguration, because we already know that idle transfiguration basically lets you turn people into sorcerers. So it would make sense that it can also take away techniques from people. So there are going to be some very interesting opportunities in this upcoming Battle Royale arc, the Death Game arc, whatever you want to call it. We're going to obviously be introduced to a lot of new characters. Tsumiki is involved. That's why Megami is, he wants Yuji to come help him because Tsumiki's there. And she's all caught up in this, so she could die. And, she's finally out of her coma after several years. So, of course, Megami's biggest concern is saving her. There are also other characters that could maybe potentially get a technique, or a new technique. I don't know. I don't think Maki's going to get a technique. I feel like that would kind of take away from how cool a character is. But, that's a possibility. Toto, he says that Boogie Woogie is dead. Which I'm just interpreting as meaning he doesn't have his same hand, he can't clap with it, which is weird because he can clap with other people's hands, so you would think that if he just had some other person's hand stitched on, he'd be able to clap with it, but, I don't know. Hopefully that's not a plot hole. He could get a new technique if he goes here, in theory. So, that's cool. Another thing is that this annihilation migration thing is some, gigantic brain reference to something involving non-migratory animals getting carried away by the air or ocean to environments that they don't belong in and potentially dying because of it. So this Battle Royale thing the brain is doing is where he has 1,000 people thrown into the Jujutsu world and killing each other to try and survive and become a part of the Jujutsu world, which is fascinating. I am not smart enough to make these kinds of references. The other thing, of course, is that there is a fish representing Junpei in the first opening, which is an Emperor angelfish, and one of the types of fish that gets caught in these migrations. And if you recall, Junpei was the first person we've seen to be altered by idle transfiguration to become a sorcerer, so it all goes back. It's all part of the plan. It's 1,000 years of Kaikaku. I have no fucking idea how Akutami plans this shit ahead of time. But they do it. I'm not smart enough for this. So, are you ready for your big sorcery fight arc? Also known as the Jujutsu Kaisen? Yeah, you're welcome. So this is fun. I'm very much looking forward to this arc. It seems like it's going to be pretty fucking crazy. I'm very interested in that. A little bit of mentioning this week's anime episode. Finally got to see Chimera Shadow Garden animated. It looked really good. It was really, really cool. I really liked the way they did it. And next week is the season finale. It seems like they're going to end on chapter 62, which I wouldn't have personally done. However, That does mean that the next season can start off with 63 and 64, which means we still get to see a little bit of the main trio before we get into the hidden inventory arc, which is probably a good idea. But yeah, with that, that's all I have to say for this week's review. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Jujutsu Kaisen chapter reactions and reviews every week. If you enjoy other series such as Record of Ragnarok, Kengan Omega Black Clover, and Kaiju number 8, I do videos in those series as well, so if you're interested in those, you should definitely check out my channel. If you enjoy discussing Jujutsu Kaisen with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. And of course, since it's the end of the video, it's time to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons, Archbears, CJ2K, The One Thread, Neo, Solo Warrior, Tyree Simmons, DeJohn Red, Anthony Chavez, Honey Mustard, Zach Rowitz, Kaga Yodi. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. And if any of you would like to get a shout out at the end of the video, there's of course a link to my Patreon in the description. You can join that if you're feeling so gracious. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys around. Take care.